What is offense? As you know, Factories and Machinery Act 1967 divided into 6 parts and have 59 sections in that act. Offence located at Part 6 under Section 50 in the Factories and Machinery Act 1967. This part actually known as general in this act. In Factories and Machinery Act 1967 or Act 139 define that the occupier of a factory contravenes this act, he shall be guilty of an offence. Not just that, if the violation relate to the owner shall be guilty of an offence. For example, if the infringement is committed by someone other than the employee and the owner, the employee and the owner will also be held responsible unless the employee or owner has proof that the violation was committed without knowledge or consent and has taken reasonable steps to prevent the violation. Why is the offence important to the act and situation? In general, the objective of this act is to provide control on factories to secure safety, health and welfare of persons therein. Other than that, in general, this act also functions for the purpose of registration and inspection of machinery and for matters connected therewith. Firstly, this act very important to prevent the occupier and owner from violating the act. In specific, offence very important to prevent the occupier or owner from violating this act. It is because from this section we know that subject to subsection 2 to 4, where the occupier of a factory contravenes this act, he shall be guilty of an offence. Secondly, this act also to avoid the violation from occur at the factory. It is because the occupier cannot commit violation while working. It will risk the safety and health of the other worker at the factory. Not just that, violation was one of the offences that related in the Factories and Machinery Act 1967. So, to prevent the violation from occur at the factory, the worker shall be guilty of an offence if commit violation at the factory. Where is the section applicable? From this act, we know that this section in general mostly used in factory. It is because this section or offence told us about that this act actually used at the factory. From the point of this section, subject to subsection 2 to 4, where the occupier of a factory contravenes this act, he shall be guilty of an offence. That point shown that this act actually was used at the factory. It is because this act involves both the worker and the owner while they are working. For examples, an offence will convict for the worker or owner that violating this act at the factory. Not just that, this section also used when the violation occur at the factory. In manufacturing environments, everyone needs to be aware of the hazards that can arise when working around electrical or energized equipment. When we shall use the offence in this act? Firstly, when the worker or owner violating the act. This section of the act can be used when the worker or the owner didn't follow this section act. The Chief of Inspector, Deputy Chief Inspector may compound offence involving any contravention of sections. Secondly, when violation occur in factory. For example, if the violation occur at the factory, an offence will follow along this act. For example, hazard chemicals that are commonly found in manufacturing environments include cleaning solution, battery acid, and flammable substances such as ethanol. Lastly, when the worker or owner fails to comply with any of the conditions. If the occupier or owner of a factory or machinery avails himself Any abstention allowed by or under this act and fails to comply with any of the conditions attached to the abstention, he shall be guilty of an offence. There is advantage and benefit of the employing for those part and section to the stakeholders. The benefits of this section is can prevent the worker and owner from disobedience in these sections. It is because if the occupier of a factory contravenes this act, he shall be guilty of an offence. So, both of worker and owner has a big responsible for keeping discipline from disobedience this section. Then harmonious situation exists because of no violation section in this act. Other than that, the benefits of this section is will reduce the rate of the violation at the factory. It is because both employee and owner will be responsible if the violation occur in the factory. In this section, the employee and the owner will also be held responsible unless the employee or owner has proof that the violation was committed without knowledge or consent and has taken reasonable steps to prevent the violation. In the end, the violation that occur at the factory will decrease because of this section in the act. In summary, this section is very important for this act, which is Factories and Machinery Act FMA 1967. From this section, we know that the offence in this section very useful for the employee and the owner. It is because there are many sections in this act relatable with this section offence. For example, if the employee didn't follow one of the act, he shall be guilty of an offence. So this section is one of the important thing in the work rules. Last but not least, we shall be grateful because of the exist this act. It is because this act very useful for present and our future. It is because this act actually our properties country for the workers that relatable with this act. Lastly, we all must keep this act can be used in the future and take good care of it. It is because this act contains all about factories and machineries that exist in Malaysia. Then the act also explain about the rule while we at the factories and about the machineries in our country.